I know that there's only been a few games played, but Jacob, I already have that feeling in the pit of my stomach that this team's going 18-0.
I don't think so. And I'm trying to think, and I know we have this on in the rundown. I'm trying to think who they would lose to.
Golden Guardians gave them a good shot. I mean, Golden
Yeah.
Guardians played pretty well.
I think they could. I think that they could. I think they could lose to Team Liquid. To be honest.
Yeah, Team Liquid. I think Rock's on a good day. Yeah.
I think Liquid is inconsistent, which is part of the reason they lost so heavily to EG. But I don't think that they're bad. I actually think, and I think that there will be a time. There's always a game, and we've seen it with every strong team, even a Immortals roster of old, that they just break one game, just one singular game, and I think that could be to Liquid of all teams.
Emily,
I think. Oh no, go.
I was just gonna say, like last split, Emily, they lost that one game because they were experimenting. Like it really like they basically dominated. Yeah, they were trying different picks that they weren't normally. I don't have exact picks off the top of my head, but I remember they were doing these experiments, especially near the end of the season, and they were still winning even though they were just having fun.
I think TSM won their game fair and square in terms of like actually beating C9. I think that was a fair win. But when I look at like some of the like, I think EG can still beat them if they draft not a losing mid like a Kassadin. And also like this C9 comp is basically like insane ranged poke where they just kind of push EG like back to their side of the map pretty constantly. Even the Volibear pick, which is again, as I mentioned, a strong laner. I think the big thing for me for C9 is that I actually think they've shown like they're still like a really, really strong team, right? But I think they've shown more gaps in their play than they did obviously towards the end of last season, which makes sense because it's at the end of the season and even if they're experimenting, they're still kind of ramping up and they're retaining that momentum. I think EG could beat them. I think TL could beat them. I think TSM, if they like, I know people might not be as forgiving of TSM just because the expectations that come in. I even think like depending on what the bot lane situation is and how stable they are, I think FlyQuest could also give them a run for their money actually. Like I think there are teams that have the talent in NA. I think the main issue is that C9 is so good at working together as a unit, and from draft they seem to have a really good idea of what they want to play. So even if they are, as you said, experimenting towards the end of the split, like the Pantheon draft that they had against Golden Guardians on like a Monday Night League, that was kind of the most experimental thing I remember them kind of locking in last spring. They have a very clear identity of like what they want that composition to do, right? And that's super important going into a game. Like I can't understate how important that is actually, because right now there's a lot of talk around draft, especially around the bot lane and the fact that you have to ban Vayne on red side and what does that do for AD carry picks. And I think that's all like really valid discussion. But it's also happening in LPL. So LPL is not exempt from this. One thing I think LPL teams do super well is that some of their drafts are quote unquote objectively bad in a vacuum, but they make sense for the context of the team and they make sense for how those champions work together. And they have a very clear cut identity of what that composition is supposed to do. And I think C9, regardless of what they're locking in, has that as well, right? Like look at the Jace, Olaf, Karma, Ezreal, Yuumi comp. That's like a great poke composition, plus the Yuumi, which you can not only use with your like solo lanes and your AD carry, but you pop it on the Olaf, and that Olaf is like invincible and moves really fast. So, I think it's a matter of the team that goes up against C9 that's going to beat them in a best of one or a single game, because it is single games. I don't think they'll go undefeated. The main issue is that team has to be on point from draft to execution, and they have to have the mechanical talent. And that's something that I can only see, again, like I think FlyQuest, EG, TSM, and TL are your best bets. But that's the issue when I talk about like beating C9 is that you have to have everything line up, really clear-cut draft identity from the get-go, know how to execute it, and that's how you're going to beat them.
10 seconds or less, pick the second best team in the LCS and why. Tyler, let's start with you.
Right now, I would say FlyQuest, but at the end of the split, it'll be Team Liquid.
And why?
Oh, because I feel like by the end of the season, the Team Liquid will actually get their inconsistencies together. I think Broxa will become more accustomed to North America and his team. And I think by the end of the season, they will be not only the strongest team outside of C9, but they will also be the most coordinated because I believe in Core JJ and Broxa to lead the team.
Jacob?
Yeah, I don't disagree, actually. I think that FlyQuest is the second best team in the LCS right now. I think that I have a lot of faith in Liquid sort of making a little bit of a comeback as a roster. I think that they had circumstances out of their control last year. They had obviously they had with Jungle with Broxa not being able to come in, and I think Double Lift is unmotivated for the majority of the split. So I'm excited to sort of see them bounce back now with Tactical, who's hungry and wants to get some W's, and Broxa, who no longer has any issues getting into the country.
Emily?
I also think it's going to be TL by the end of the season, but I think right now it's actually EG. Even with the C9 loss, I think people are like looking at that loss and they're like, wow, they got their like face handed to them, you know, like they got stomped. But that is against the best team in NA. And I still think that currently EG are the second best team right now. But I also agree that it's going to be TL by the end of the split.